Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. So the last couple of weeks have been really crazy for me with my travel schedule at work. It seems like sometimes everything just all happens at one time, and that's kind of what's happened to me. So the last 3 weeks, I think I've been home 4 days. So I had a meeting in Salt Lake City that I was at for 5 days. I came home, was home over the weekend, was home on I think Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday morning I turned around and packed up early, left, drove up to Huntsville, Alabama, hooked up with one of my viewers here, Tom and Tom Utley, and the two of us rode up to ArnFest up in outside of Chicago, Illinois. Had a great time. We're going to tell you a little bit about that trip in a little bit. Then coming home, went back to Huntsville, dropped Tom off, and on Monday morning I drove from Huntsville to the Atlanta airport, got on an airplane, and had to fly to Mexico for a conference for work again, and got back home again late Friday night. I'm filming this on Saturday morning. And I think I said previously that I probably wasn't going to have a video out on Friday, and again, that's the reason why. I was on the road, I'm traveling, just couldn't get videos made. I've got plenty of stuff to show you guys, but most of it has happened since I've been home last. So anyway, we're going to be giving you guys an update, and just so you know, this odds and ends episode, we're going to focus on the ArnFest event, which we just got through with last week, and tell a little bit about what all happened there, some of the cool things we did. We carried a lathe bed for a South Bend lathe that Tom Utley is restoring up to have the Waze ground. And anyway, I'm going to share a little bit of information about that I think you guys will enjoy. And then we're going to show you the stuff we picked up at the swap meet and some other things that I had purchased previously or arranged to have delivered to me at ArnFest. So I've got a pretty good stack of stuff over here of new tool acquisitions and goodies and some museum donations and whatever that we're going to go through and show you guys as well. So anyway, that's where we are. This video is going to come out a day or two late this week, but again, I apologize for not getting on Friday. We're just doing good to get it out at all this week. So also I will mention, while I was gone, had quite a few viewer appreciation items show up in the mail, and had a couple of eBay purchases in there. I'm going to put those off until another. This video is going to be long enough as it is, so we'll probably save that for another episode down the road. So if you sent some items, again, my apologies, but we're going to save those for a little bit later, just because of the amount of stuff we got to go through in this one. So let's get to it. So for me, one of the coolest parts of this year's ArnFest journey and event actually didn't take place at ArnFest. For me, it was actually doing the lathe grinding or delivering the lathe bed to be ground that Tom Utley's working on. And so Tom, I think I'd shared in my last odds and ends, he's in the process of restoring an old South Bend, I think I said 14-inch lathe. It's actually a 16-inch lathe, 16 by 60 metal lathe made back in 1943. And he's been doing an outstanding job doing it. And unfortunately, though, he got pretty well into the restoration. And as Tom said, he did what he should have done to begin with. He measured the wear and the ways on the lathe and determined that they were really, really bad. In fact, so bad that he didn't feel like that he could continue restoring the machine without addressing the weigh issues. So the weighs on these old South Bend lathes are made out of cast iron. They're not hardened. A lot of lathe beds are hardened. This lathe bed is not hardened. And because of that, the old South Bends, they're great lathes. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking South Bend by any means. The machine shop that I worked in back in the late 80s, we had 4 South Bend lathes. In fact, we only had 5 manual lathes in the shop. 4 of them were South Bends, and we did great work on them. I learned how to run a lathe on a South Bend lathe. But the downside of the South Bends is that because the ways usually are not hardened. I think they did have a few models that were hardened, but the vast majority of them out there, they're not hardened. They tend to wear faster, and they tend to create kind of a little ridge in them where over time you can see that wear. And that was the case with this particular lathe. This lathe has actually got marks on it where it was in the Ordnance Corps of the United States Army. In fact, it came off of Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville at one point in time, and then a guy that made pool cues used it for probably 30 years to make pool cues on, and probably a lot of the wear happened there because he had all that wood dust from the pool cues dropping down on the lathe bed, and just going back and forth over it. And you don't think wood, but you get all kinds of trash in that wood, and it can actually cause a lot of problems. Anyway, it needed to be addressed. So Tom found, I think it's Kinetic. I'll put the information in the video of the company that's doing this. They're based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they do grinding. That's what they do. In fact, really their specialty is making knives. And when I say knives, I'm talking industrial knives for like, they said they made knives for like paper plants that cut paper and cutting in all kinds of industrial applications, big shears. I'm talking huge knives. I mean, that's been their specialty. So they're dealing with a lot of hardened ground material and basically grinding custom knives. And they had a huge facility, guys. I mean, it was a huge, huge plant. And when we got in there, they started showing us around, and some of the grinders in this place were just massive. And I'll show you some video and pictures of those in just a minute. So anyway, when we left Huntsville, we loaded the lathe bed up on my truck, and Tom had gone ahead and crated it because he's going to have to ship it back. So we went ahead and crated it all up, built a custom wooden crate for it. Thing's heavy. We struggled to get it in my truck, quite honestly. We used an engine hoist to get it up into my truck, got it in there, and we drove basically straight from Huntsville up to Wisconsin to deliver this thing the first day, on that Thursday that we drove up. And we got there, of course, it was real easy to unload because they had a bridge crane in there, and they just came over there, hooked it up to my truck, and picked it right up and set it off. We then got a little tour of the plant, and I was going to try to shoot some video on this. In fact, I did try to shoot some video of this, but quite honestly, it was just so loud in the plant that I couldn't pick up any audio. We had some talking going on, but the audio was shot. But I do got a few video clips I'm going to try to mix in here with this so you can kind of just see some of the stuff going on. But one of the grinders that they have, they're mostly the big grinders. So think of a surface grinder. You guys, if you watch like Stan Zinkowski's channel, he's got a surface grinder, does some awesome work on it. So it's basically that, but just think of something that is just massively huge. I mean, these things have 8, 10, 12 foot long beds that they're able to put stuff down onto and do grinding jobs. We saw one, it was a big Blanchard grinder, and I got some pictures here. So when you look at it, yeah, it doesn't look too big, but look at the guy in there that's standing beside it. And then look at the motor above it. That's a 300 horsepower Blanchard grinder. 300 horsepower. He had another one, 250, the little one that he ran right next to it. He said that when he runs that 300 horsepower Blanchard grinder on a job all month long, his power bill goes up by like $4,000 a month. Just imagine, guys. I mean, this place was pretty massive. So he had a big Madison grinder that he was going to do the job of the lathe beds on, and he actually shot some video of them grinding the lathe beds here, and you can see the lathe bed on there. And again, you got to put this in scale, guys. That lathe bed is about 8 foot long. I know it doesn't look that big in the video, but that's an 8 foot long lathe bed. So just to give you an idea of the size of the equipment that they're doing, but he was able to. And I think the job is pretty much done. Tom hasn't gotten it back yet, but we've seen pictures of it and what have you. But they've got the job done now. They reground all the ways for the lathe. They reground the bottom of the saddle that goes across the ways, and they also did the cross slide, reground all that. So hopefully in the next week or so, Tom will get all this stuff back and start putting it back together. So anyway, it's a real interesting project. Cash Masters is the guy up there that runs the business. I think his dad started it, and him and his two brothers are now running the business, and they've got an awesome shop. If anybody needs any custom grinding like this for machinery repair, get in touch with them. I think that they'd be interested in talking to you. It's not cheap. This work is not cheap, guys. I mean, this job just for Tom is going to be several $1,000s. You say, why do that on a South Bend lathe? Well, for Tom, he's got so deep into this that he just felt like he needed to finish it. And I've been there. And if it was my project, I probably would have done the same. But the nice thing is that when he gets through with this South Bend lathe, he's going to have a perfect South Bend lathe, which is really going to be nice. I'll also mention, I said before in the previous video that Tom actually set up a GoFundMe site to help pay for some of this, because it really is hitting his budget pretty hard. And I know last time several of you guys, I know for a fact, because we were at ArnFest, he kept getting notifications that donations were coming in. So he's got some money raised on this. I think he's still got a little bit shy of his goal. So if anybody wants to kick in a few bucks to to help him, you can hit his GoFundMe site to help do that. And I've got a link for that down in the description down below underneath the video here. So when you read the part under the video on YouTube, there'll be a link for that if you want to help out. And I'm not pushing anybody to do that, but I know Tom would greatly be appreciative. But really cool part of the trip was doing the lathe grinding and getting to see that. Wish I could have done a full-fledged tour of this facility, but it was getting late in the evening by the time we got up there, and the noise in the building just was not conducive to really doing any quality audio. So you probably would have just been seeing a bunch of pictures and hearing a bunch of loud noise because it was just really loud in there. So anyway, that was the first part of our trip. So now back to ArnFest itself. We finally got up there on Thursday evening and joined up with everybody, and the event really got started on Friday. And Friday at ArnFest is really just the kind of time for people to get together, to talk about things. They were doing a couple of projects, hands-on projects where people could help do a machine restoration, and I know they restored an old unisaw, table saw. They tore it completely down and basically did a rebuild on it while there. And it gives people who haven't had the opportunity or don't have a lot of experience doing machinery restorations to get to participate in one under the supervision of someone that kind of knows a little bit more about what's going on. I think they also did a little bandsaw. I think it was like a 10-inch bandsaw that they restored. Quite honestly, I wasn't in there a lot while some of this stuff was going on because we had so many things going on. So they got started on the restoration projects. We had some demos that were being done. Some different people were talking about different topics throughout the day. And that's kind of what went on most of the day on Friday. Saturday's the big day of the event, and this is the day they had the big swap meet. And quite honestly, I spent almost the whole day out at the swap meet, kind of out in the parking lot, either going around looking at stuff. I had some stuff that I brought up with me to sell, and sold some stuff and on the tailgate of the truck. And that's also where they're moving machinery around. People bring stuff in, and it's kind of a place for people to meet up. So I sell somebody a piece of machinery, I bring it here. They have a forklift, they can move it from one truck to the other. Some guy meets them there and hauls it back home. And I was kind of helping out with a lot of that and moving around. So don't know exactly what all went on Friday over in the main shop area where they were doing demos and stuff, but I know there was a lot going on there as well. But anyway, it was a really fun time. For me, one of the best parts of ArnFest, as always, is getting to meet the people. A lot of these people have been coming for 10 years or more and develop friendships. This is the time of year I get to see them. But this year we had quite a few people who were more associated with my YouTube channel that made the trip up, to get to be able to meet me as well as some of the other guys up there. And that was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of my viewers that I have never met before. And it was, as always, just a blast to be able to sit down and chat with folks and talk. So anyway, I greatly enjoyed meeting all the new people that I got to meet. But then the swap meet, again, for me, that was also another big part of the event. And again, I was actually selling some items this year. I had never done that before, but I brought a few little items up to sell, and did sell a few items, and then also bought a few things that I brought back with me. And we're going to go through those now and kind of show you what all we picked up. All right, so this first collection of items all came from the same seller, which is why I kind of have them together here. This all stuff came from Doug Broberg. Doug is a guy who lives up in Minnesota. He interesting guy. I've gotten to know him very well over the last few years and have bought quite a bit of stuff from him over the last couple of years. But he tends to go around and get some really good deals on shops that are going out of business and what have you. He'll go in and just buy up a lot of stuff, and then he'll turn around and try to sell some of it. And this is some stuff that he had that I bought. So first off, some milling arbors. We got a 50 taper. This is a 1-inch arbor. I've got a 1-inch arbor, but mine is really long and this one is shorter. And a lot of my milling jobs, I don't need a really long arbor. So this was something I thought I could use. I haven't put it on the mill to see how much run out is in this, and he told me he had not checked it, did not know, but anyway, it was a good deal. I said, I'll take a chance on it. And Doug also threw in this little arbor here, and this is actually K&T Kerner-Trekkie 50 taper. And it's also 1-inch. It's just a little short arbor. It's built right in here, but it's only, what is that, 6 inches long. I don't know that I really have a need for that. but it may come in handy one day. You never know when you got a particular setup that you might need something like that on. So this one, you wouldn't use with an overarm support. But anyway, he actually just threw that in and gave it to me. Had a bucket full of these rings for slings, for slinging things. Anyway, I picked up a couple of those, 4 of those. This is kind of an interesting item here. In fact, let me zoom you in on this. I think it's worth showing you guys. All right, so what this is a little jig or tool or fixture, whatever you want to call it, for doing some balancing of something fairly small. In fact, I think he was using it primarily for grinding wheels. And I think he told me that he made this, or it was shop made. I don't think this is a commercial made item, but it's very well put together. But there's basically 2 rails up here on the top that come up to just a point. And what you would do is you would put a shaft on here that had something in the middle that you were wanting to balance. And there's 3 set screws in the bottom of this where you can adjust this and put a level on it and get it leveled up so that it's perfectly level with a machinist level. And then you would just roll it back and forth on here. And by adjusting the weight on whatever you're trying to balance, you can get it balanced pretty well. It's not dynamic balance. This is what they call static balancing. In fact, it's kind of interesting because Dale Derry over at Machine Shop Tips and Tricks, I think is the name of his YouTube channel, he actually showed just, I think in last week or so, how he used a setup very similar to this to balance a cutter head off of a joiner. And this is basically the exact same process, and this is just a little fixture for doing that on. Anyway, I picked that up. These are kind of cool right here while we got you zoomed in. So these are brand new in the box. Let's open one of these up. I think that one there's open, maybe not. It's like the shell game. One of these is open. Here we go. So what these are big center drills. So this is what is this, a number 10, I think? Yeah, so number 10, 5/16 by 1 inch center drill. These are brand new in the box, never been used. Anyway, I ended up picking up 3 of these, and I think I paid $10 for the 3 of them. New old stock, so A-bomb size center drills. So these are a couple items I picked up to use out at the museum. These are line shaft hangers, and these are for doing like with line shaft. If you ever seen an old shop that's running off of the flat belts, you had the shafts running up in the ceiling with the pulleys that go down to power the individual machines. Well, these would hang from the ceiling, so they're actually upside down. They would actually hang like this from the ceiling, and through these little bearings here, these are just Babbitt bearing, I think 1 inch shaft it looks like. These would actually hold the shaft up in the ceiling. And these line shaft hangers are getting, at least for me, they're getting really difficult to find, old line shaft hangers. And we've got a fair amount of line shaft stuff out at the museum. So I'm always, anytime I can pick up a line shaft hanger, I get it. So he gave me a real good deal. I can't remember what I paid. They were like 20 bucks or something for these, so I picked these up as well. So another item that I ended up getting from Doug, and he actually just gave these to me. And this is for the museum. And what these are, and this one anyway is kind of rusty, and I've never used one of these. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know we use them out at the museum. But this is a tube roller for a boiler. So boilers have tubes that go through them that basically the smoke goes out of into the firebox and into the on either end of the boiler, and from time to time they need to be expanded because they'll start leaking a little bit of water, and these basically go into that tube and you roll them and it expands it and kind of seals it back up. These are some that are in the box. This one here, it says on there it's not new, it's been used, and you can tell it's been used, but it's a little rusty, but it's in good shape all in all. And this is for a 2.5 inch tube. And this other one here, I haven't even opened it up. I think this one is actually brand new in the box. And I'm not even sure exactly what size it is. But anyway, he ended up, I told him, he said, "Were you interested in those?" And I said, "I'll be honest with you." I said, "We use them at the museum from time to time, but I'm not interested in spending a bunch of money on them." He said, "Well, I need to get rid of them." just take them. So he gave these to me to take out to the museum. And, you know, I don't know if this is sizes that we can use or not, but anyway, we've got them now, and they'll be at the museum. So one of the last things that or actually I think the last thing I need to finish restoring the planer matcher was a set of knives to go on for one of the matcher heads, because the ones that were on the machine were just too short and I thought they were unsafe. So I've been on the look for some of these for a while, and one of the guys that I've dealt with up there, Dan Warner, who lives up in Indiana, I think. Anyway, he said he had some brand spanking new ones, and I know for a fact he got these several years ago from a guy down in Australia who sent a bunch of these knives up here to the U.S. because he had a bunch of them in inventory, and they actually outlawed these in Australia and they couldn't sell them, so he shipped them up here to the U.S. and Dan got some. And anyway, this is one of these brand new old stock items. So they're wrapped up in newspaper, and I found a date on the newspaper dated 1986. So that's when these knives would have been made new. And you look in here, and we got a set, brand spanking new. Still have some type of coating on them. You see that kind of red look. Superior cut, Melbourne, Australia. Straight cut, double C, this one says. Anyway, we got a set of these really nice, brand spanking new knives for the planer head on the matcher. So straight from Australia. So anyway, great. I'm glad to have these, and we can put these on pretty soon when we get back to work on the planer matcher very soon. So up next here, we got a couple of items that were given to me by John DeRosa. And John is one of my YouTube viewers, actually lives just right up near the Illinois Railway Museum where this was at. And he sells a lot of drills and taps and dies and what have you. And he actually set up on the tailgate of his truck and sold some stuff during the swap meet. And anyway, got a chance to meet John for the first time. I have had multiple email conversations with him, comments on YouTube, and he has sent me items on multiple occasions down. Both things that I need. When I've been looking, there was one time I was looking for an oddball tap size, and he had it and sent it down to me, and also just some fun items he sent me from time to time. But these are some things he just kind of brought up to me and said, here, I thought you'd like to have these, one of which being this big end mill, which is really nice. So this has got a 1 inch and a quarter, an inch and a quarter shank on it, and it's a 2-inch end mill. Looks like it's been reground, and it looks like it's a candidate for being reground again, but still in good shape overall. The sides are pretty sharp. I got one little chip on that one. That one there looks pretty sharp, but anyway, that right there will be coming handy. I'm sure we can use that on the horizontal mill. Also brought me the little keyway cutter here, and this item here. And when he brought it up to me, he had put these together and said, you know, this is for doing like reaching inside of it. He was being funny, of course, reaching inside something. But actually, this little piece here, I'm not 100% sure what that's for, but it's tapered. So I think this is maybe an end for a Morse taper shank. I'm thinking maybe a replacement, maybe, I don't know, where if you got one that's messed up, you could mill a slot in there and put a new one on. I'm not quite sure what that is. Some of you guys may know, but I can tell just looking at it, it's tapered, and it looks like the end of like a number 2 Morse taper shank. So not quite sure on that. But anyway, thanks a lot, John. And also really great to get to finally meet you face to face. Really enjoyed that, and the couple of chats that we were able to have during the day. Thanks a lot. So this is an item that I was really kind of happy to find, and it was out on one of the sellers there was selling this item. I think Scott Golden had this up for sale. And when I first looked at it, I said, man, that is one rusty vise. And it is definitely rusty, but when you look at it, it's just a light layer of surface rust. And then I got to looking at it a little bit closer, and the jaws in here, this thing looks like it's hardly ever been used. There's hardly any marks on it. You know, the anvil part down here doesn't look like it's been beat on. I see just a couple little marks right here on here. And I tried it out. It opens and closes is great. It looks like it just maybe set out for a while, and it really doesn't look like it's deeply pitted rusted. It's just a surface rust. This thing's going to clean up beautifully. So, in fact, I just about cleaned it up with a piece of Scotch-Brite here. I mean, it's just got some light surface rust on it. So this is, what is this, a 4-inch? Yeah, 4-inch Wilton bullet vise. It doesn't have the base on there that rotates. It's a straight mount. I guess you could probably get a base that would fit that, or make a base that would fit that to turn on, but it's really in good shape. So this right here is probably going to end up seeing the bead blaster hit and get sandblasted and repainted. I saw Stan Zinkowski do a little bullet vise here recently where he had it powder coated. I don't know that I'd go the same color that he did that one, which was interesting, but I may end up doing something like that. There's a powder coating place not too far from us, so I don't know if I'll paint this or powder coat it, but this is going to make a great vise. And with Tom Lipton doing his little baby bullet build that he's in the process of doing, I know how to take it apart now. So all these things are built pretty much the same. So this right here will probably be a future project for us to work on to do a restoration on. And I'm really tickled to find a very nice condition Wilton bullet vise, and with a little TLC, this joker is going to be nice. So I ended up paying $150 for this, which is what he was asking. I didn't even try to knock him down on it. Yeah, it looks a little rough, but it's a jewel in the rough. At least I think it is. So I was real tickled to pick this up. I've been looking for a bullet vise in good shape for a while and just haven't been able to find one. So this was a really fun find for me. So another item that I've been looking for a while and have had a need for on several occasions has been a rotary table. And so this one, actually picked it up at ArnFest. It wasn't for sale there, but interesting how this one came about. So one of my viewers again, Jeff Wood, he's also real active over on the OWWM forums, sent me a message like several months ago. Said he was cruising through the local Craigslist. I think he lives up in, I want to say around maybe Baltimore. That may not be right. I think that's right. Hang on a minute. Myersville, Maryland, which I think is close to Baltimore. I'm not sure on that, but anyway, he saw this in a Craigslist and he sent me a link to it, said, hey, you interested in that? The guy had it listed on Craigslist for $150. I took the pictures. It looked to be in good shape. I said, yeah, I'd love to get that. So Jeff went over, and it wasn't too far from where he was working or living or something, and he basically picked it up, bought it for me. I sent him the money back. And we got there. I could have sworn he had it listed for $150. When he got there, the guy sold it to him for $125. So I even got a little bit better deal on it. This thing, again, looks to be in great shape. It's 8 inches in size. I would really like to, and still may eventually find one that's a little bit bigger than this, but for most jobs, this is actually a very good size. And again, this is something I've been needing, or I've had a need for on several occasions, and I've always worked around it one way or the other, but anyway, real nice. Made by Palmgren. Of course, it'll mount in either direction, up or flat. And again, it looks like it has not been heavily used. There's one little mill mark here on the table where someone got into it, but no big deal. It turns great. Hasn't been beat up very bad. So anyway, another great deal. So thank you, Jeff, for pointing this out to me and being willing to go pick it up and then hand deliver it to me at ArnFest. So I appreciate that as well. Thanks a lot. So these are some items I picked up from Slav, and I'm going to butcher his last name, just Sleevelich, I think. Anyway, I'll put his name down below so you guys can see it. I've gotten to know Slav over the last couple of years and really have enjoyed getting to know him. And over the years, he's another one of these guys. He has gone around to these old hardware stores. I think he lives up in the Chicago area, and over the years has just bought out a bunch of new old stock stuff. He has hundreds and hundreds of files, old USA made files of all sorts and sizes. And over the years, there's no telling how much money I've spent with him buying files, because he's got some great files, quality files that you can't get anymore. This year I only bought one file from him, but I thought it was interesting because it only is on the edge. The face here is flat, but the edge has file cuts on it. I've never seen one like that, and there's been several times that I've needed that to get down into an area to work on. Anyway, I picked up that one file. I picked up a file card from him. This was a brand new Brown and Sharp gauge for Acme thread. So you can, if you're grinding a cutter for Acme threads, this has got basically all the different pitches in there that you grind your cutter to fit, and also has a setup tool for getting the angle right when you're setting it up on the lathe. This is brand spanking new old stock Brown and Sharp. Let's see if it's got a number on it. So this is a Brown Sharp 715. Anyway, brand new in the envelope still. So anyway, it seems like I'm doing more and more Acme thread stuff, so I thought that was nice. And then also this big chuck here. This is, again, brand new old stock. I don't think it's ever been used. This is made by New Britain Drill Chuck Company, 0 to 3/4 inches, Union Manufacturing Company, New Britain, Connecticut, number 108. W&S Company M613. So it's got a couple different names of manufacturers on there. But anyway, nice big chuck. I thought I might try to put this on my horizontal mill. So I need to find a 50 taper adapter for this. I thought I had one, but it was actually a size smaller on the taper here. But I'm not quite sure about this chuck. It's a little bit different than like a Jacobs chuck that I'm used to. So anybody's familiar with this chuck, I'd be interested in hearing from you as far as how to use it or what have you. But it's new old stock. It's in great shape. Real sharp corners in here. I think it will actually go down to 0 and up to 3/4 inches. So I thought that'd be a good one to use on the horizontal mill. So anyway, I picked up all that stuff from Slav. And we did some horse trading. There were some things over on my table that he wanted. And anyway, we did some trading. And anyway, I feel like I came out pretty good on that one. So thanks a lot, Slav. So this is another item I'm kind of excited about. I saw it sitting over on the tailgate of a gentleman's truck and went up and looked at it and bought it. So what this is a Mitutoyo 24-inch height gauge in the box. Quite honestly, the box is not in the greatest of shape. I'm either going to have to do some work or make a new one for it. I can probably do some repair work to it, but the height gauge itself appears to be in great shape. And anyway, this is something I've been looking for and was really tickled. If I'd found a 12-inch one, I'd have been happy. This one being 24 inches makes it even better. So let's zoom in here so you guys can take a look at this. So here's the business end of it where everything's kind of happening, and it looks to be in great shape. Yeah, there's a little bit of tarnish or whatever on some of these parts, but all in all, it operates just fine. You can tighten this one up here and then fine adjust up and down with this gauge. Loosen that up a little bit. So it is a vernier scale, which I know a lot of people would rather have a dial, and heck, I would rather have a dial, but this measures to a 1/10,000th of an inch, or 1,000th of an inch, excuse me, right here on the gauge. It's got the scribe on here. So this side here is just a high-speed steel. This side is actually carbide, and you can flip that around, use whichever side you want. So it's basically like a height gauge or marking gauge. You use this on the surface plate. It's got some ability to calibrate it up here if you need to. So I'll probably at some point in time get this out on the surface plate, get some gauge blocks out, calibrate it, check it out, make sure it's set up right. But anyway, nice tool to have for doing some layout work. And again, something I've been needing, something I've been wanting and looking for a while, and I finally found a good deal on it. So again, something nice to have here. He was asking $125 for this. I thought that was a very reasonable price. So anyway, I picked it up. $125, 24-inch Mitutoyo height gauge. So next item here, this is a couple of 5C collet racks picked up from Andy Horiot, who was actually set up right next to me out there at ArnFest selling a few items. And something else, I've actually been debating on purchasing some collet racks. I've got a good bit of C5 collets, and they're just kind of all in a box, and we want to get them organized. So anyway, Andy had these. Right now, this small one will probably hold all my collets, but picked up both of these for 20 bucks. So as I get more, I might go to the larger one. And you can set these up either this way or this way, so they'll work either way. As far as stacking collets into, I think this one here is probably more for laying flat. This one has a double layer in there, so it will hold them better in this orientation, or you can lay it down flat either way. So anyway, nice deal on that. Of course, these are probably cheap, made in China, but for what they're being used for, they're fine. These are pretty cool. These are some little bar clamps made by the CT company, made in USA. I don't see a town on them, but they're little adjustable bar clamps. So they go along here, they click in. Got this nice cast iron handle on here to crank with. Gentleman gave these to me, and I told him, I said, these are going to go out to the museum and the woodworking shop out there. So we've got a steam-powered woodworking shop, line shaft driven. Something I need to get out and do some videos on and show you guys, because I think you'd enjoy it. But one of the things we're always needing out there are clamps, and it's hard to find vintage clamps of the right time period to put in there, and these will definitely fit the bill. So these are missing, both of these are missing the little pad that goes on here, so I'll probably have to make one of those. I don't think it'll be a big deal to do that. Just make a pad that goes up on there. There's a little recess in here that you can put a little set screw in to hold it on. So we'll probably end up, that'll probably be a job down the road. We'll make some pads for these and then put these up in the woodworking shop at the museum, so they'll have some nice period clamps to be able to use in there. So thanks a lot, I appreciate that. Again, this was a donation to the museum, and pardon me, I forget who donated these, but thank you very much. And the last item here is just a little flat belt pulley. And again, I apologize, I forget who donated this. I remember when I pulled up on Friday morning at the museum, before I got out of the truck good, a gentleman came up and said, hey, I got a pulley for the museum. And so he brought this up and we threw it in the back of the truck. So I appreciate this as well. We'll put this in the pulley collection out at the museum, because we're always, as we're restoring machinery and putting stuff online, it seems like we always need these flat belt pulleys. And just like the line shaft hangers we were talking about earlier, these are getting harder and harder to find. And you never know what size you're going to need. And when you need something, it's not like you can just go order these anymore. So we try to keep a good collection. Anytime I get an opportunity to pick up flat belt pulleys like this for the museum, I try to take advantage of it. So thanks a lot, I appreciate that. And who knows where it'll end up getting used, but these smaller ones like this size range, for whatever reason, seems to be the ones we're always looking for. So I'm sure it'll get used at some point in time. Let's see, this looks like a 12-inch pulley. So that's a size I know we don't have very many of, because I've looked for 12-inch pulleys before. And what is that, a 4-inch face? So thanks a lot, I appreciate it. We will put that to use probably sooner than later. Thanks a lot. So that'll be a wrap, guys, on this episode of Odds and Ends, talking about ArnFest 2015 and the fun adventure we had going up there this year and showing some of the goodies we brought back. Again, thanks everybody. Always enjoy getting to meet up with folks. Had both a lot of YouTube subscribers that I hadn't seen, as well as some of the guys that go every year, and I always just look forward to seeing. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to Tom Utley for riding up with me, man. He gave me great company on that long drive up and that long drive back. I've done that trip before by myself, and it's always a lot nicer when you have someone to ride with, particularly someone who's interesting to talk to, and as we got along very well, I thought, on the trip. So I appreciate you riding with me. That meant a lot. And sorry didn't get to shoot a lot of video up there, just was so busy. But you know, we got some pictures we threw in here, so hopefully you guys get an idea of what the event's like. And I'm sure we'll be doing that again next year. It's usually toward the end of September. And this usually, it's always so far been held at the Illinois Railway Museum, and I have no reason to believe that will not be where we go back again next year. So if you didn't make it out this year, be looking out next year for ArnFest again. This was the 11th annual ArnFest event that we've had, and looking forward to many more to come down the road. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys later on.